Can people truly reinvent themselves?
People reinvent themselves all the time, nefariously.
To the point of there's something within me, or there's something that I don't like, or there's something that brings me pain.
Yeah.
Do people really reinvent themselves?
You can. You just gotta want to. It's effort. There is so much effort to make a behavioral change that is identifying what's reinforcing why you're doing it now. If you've been doing it a long time, it's a huge mountain to unlearn. But you find the right pace of change. You find the right thing that does get the need met in the same way that's more proactive. Of course you can.
Welcome to another session of Word with Patrick Smith. In honor of Mental Health Month, I brought in a special guest, Dr. Shannon Hill. And we're going to find out more about what makes mental health such an interesting part of our daily lives. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's probably a little different for you being on the questioning side of this as opposed to the one that's asking the questions.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to jump right in, Shannon, and I'm going to open this like I do most of the time. I prefer for my guests to tell us who they are. So tell me who you are without telling me what you do.
I think currently I'm a recovering scaredy cat and a person who is still constructing herself, and the balancing of those two things, trying to shift my life away from doing what was safe, what I thought would be approved by other people, that caution, that over caution that has been a part of my life forever. And now I'm kind of just trying to live a life that's a bit more free, a bit more peaceful, and thinking a whole lot about, at age 55, this is the second half of my life. And I am somehow now surrounded. Most of the people in my life are over 70. And seeing how you do have limited time. Even if your mind and your spirit are still there, your body doesn't let you do everything that you ever dreamed of doing. So currently it is about staying maximally healthy, physically able, and moving into all those things that when I'm at the end of my mobility period of life, I at least want to be able to show these photos, to look at them every day, say, hey, I jumped out of an airplane, Yeah. Yeah, just trying to live.
You grew up in West Helena, Arkansas.
Correct.
What did growing up there teach you about people?
Oh, wow. Teach me about people. So I grew up in West Helena, Arkansas. For anybody who does not know about West Helena, Arkansas, in the 1980s, that was just a fun place to live. Surrounded by the St. Francis National Forest, White River Refuge. My dad was the great white hunter. I grew up in a fishing boat, riding the ATVs in the backyard. It was also important, I think, that it was the 1980s and we were Gen X, and Mom and Dad were both gone all the time for work. That sounded bad. They were gone during the day for work.
Yeah.
I got off school. I went home. I let myself in. I learned to cook. We didn't wear seat belts. My dad had a Jeep when I was little, and it was had the iron framework on the top of it to carry the boat.
Oh, yeah.
Driving down gravel roads, I was hanging off of that, And I did not know how free that was. And I really did not know how unique it was to grow up in that kind of environment where the whole family went and did everything together. We went camping, we went water skiing. My grandfather would jump out of the boat because he just couldn't wait any longer, pants and all, and water ski behind the boat. My friends were friends for life. My parents went to the same high school I did. They were the integration generation. And by the time I got there, it was the peak of true integration in that time, in that town. And after I left, there was a good bit of white flight and a whole lot of racial tension that maybe was under the surface that naive me did not realize was there. My class was integrated. We interacted, we talked together, we hung out, we enjoyed one another at school. But we never took that next step of, I might have loved Angela Davis and Ruth Jones, had a great time talking to them at school, but I never went to their house. They never went to my house.
See.
So I left at that cusp of something good was about to happen. And at the same time, industry started to leave. Casinos came in across the river in Tallulah, Mississippi, and everything died.
Wow.
So it just collapsed in so many different ways. And my parents stayed. So what did I learn about people? I learned that you can get so close to doing it right, and very quickly something goes awry in the environment, in the world. Maybe it's immediate, maybe it's tangential. And all the progress that you've made can just disappear.
Word.
Yeah. Sounds depressing. I'm actually an optimistic person.
In that time, you said recovering scaredy cat, and you and I have talked a little bit about some of your past and what your upbringing was like. What was a recovering scaredy cat? Where does that come from?
I don't know. I really do think I was just born shy. My parents tell stories of me being a little toddler. The sound of fall leaves on the ground would terrify me. I'd run into the house. Circumscribed to life, very socially afraid. There is no thing that I can go back in my mind and say this happened or that happened. My parents were young when I was born. They were 20. They hadn't even turned 21 yet. They both had younger brothers. Maybe having teenage boys in my life as a toddler, they love to terrorize the kid. I don't know if I can blame them for that or not.
Yeah.
But definitely, and when I look through my family, I'm not the only one. There are several that were biologically loaded towards the shyness factor.
Yeah.
My mom is an extreme extrovert, and that was a thing that drove her crazy. She could not understand why, if I had options to go play with kids, I would rather stay in my room by myself. And if a teacher was doing something that I didn't understand, or I had a question about an assignment, even teachers that would say, first grade, if you need to go to the bathroom, it's in the room, just get up and go. Not me. Had to have that permission, would wait until I was about to wet my pants to ask for it. And actually, it's not nice to call someone your oldest friend. My longest continuous friendship was made in third grade because this girl had just moved to town. And I had been separated. I'd made my friends in first grade and second grade. Third grade, we're in a different school. None of us were in the same classroom. I'm starting over from zero, and there's new girls there. And this teacher in the hallway sees me walking by myself, her walking by herself, grabs us both by the wrist, connects us physically, and said, you're alone. Now you're friends. Go play. We did. I'm going to try to go visit her. She lives in Jackson, Tennessee now. I'm going to try to visit her on my way out of here. Yeah. So I don't know if I just answered your question or not, but that has been something that disappears gradually over time because you can't function when you're that shy. I had a lot of support from teachers who saw something in me and they would push me up. They would connect me with other children. They didn't do it in a way that was punishing or saying there's something wrong with you, you shouldn't. But the big turning point was high school graduation. I was valedictorian. I knew it was going to be.
Oh, wow.
Like 280 kids.
Yeah.
Everybody gets
pretty big class.
Yeah, and everybody gets to invite like 5 people. I knew I had to make a speech. Scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
So I took speech class to get ready all year long. And by the time it came, first time to sit under bright lights, I had no idea what that was like. And I was astounded that when I stepped on that stage, took a deep breath, as scared as I was before I walked on it, calm, total calm. Because it turns out that commanding an audience, making a speech, standing on stage, it's not the same as this. It requires something very, very different. As long as you know more about what you're about to say than anybody in that room does, it's not as terrifying as talking with someone one-on-one, letting them see who you are, especially when you layer on, instead of just me being shy, me having this I've got to be perfect thing going on too. So when you start seeing things that I'm not good at, young me doesn't like that and gets closed off and closed off and closed off.
Do you think people, not everybody goes through that transformation that you're describing, that explosion out, if you will, that arrival, even if it was something that you had to work at, do you think that people stay in that underdeveloped emotional state and never really come out of it?
No.
No.
I think everybody is evolving all the time. Whether we are consciously doing it, we're being worked on by our environment. I think that sometimes you will have periods of time where you've stagnated or you've even reversed course, gone into yourself more. But no, I think we're all becoming all the time. Now, whether you choose to do it in a way that society would say is positive adaptive development, or you choose to take yourself in a way that society would think would be a regression of some sort, you're still changing. You're still moving. You know, even Ted Kaczynski's decision to move into Montana and live in a cabin and not interact with people and just be with his own thoughts, he changed himself by isolating that way. I don't know, Ted. I'm supposing he did. Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So you've spent your life studying behavior.
Yeah.
Learning these systems and interactions. When did you first realize you were watching people differently than other people were?
When I was 19, my next door neighbor was working at a facility called North Mississippi Regional Center. It is a state-run facility for adults, well, they're not all adults, but for people with intellectual disabilities who need more support than you can receive through schools and living at home. They needed full-time, 24-hour care. And they would have people show up, college kids show up all the time for a summer job, get it on the resume, move on. He would come home, he was a social work major, he would come home just so full of stories about what he was doing every day, the people he was interacting with, and it was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I did need the resume patter job. And I did think I was going to go work out there for a summer
Yeah.
and get some real world experience. But I was not, my undergrad major was English. I was going to go to graduate school, become a writer.
Okay.
So studying people with that lens, being able to write dialogue, being able to see other people's perspectives so that you can write about it authentically, was kind of what was in my head watching people and listening to people. But everybody had red binders with the psychological reports, their behavior intervention plans, social history, all of these things that nobody read who was doing direct care like I was.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, it was a 2 to 10 shift. Most of the guys would go to bed by 9:30, and at the end, we're just cleaning up, waiting on the next shift to take over. I'd be in the office reading red binders. Like, I just could not get enough of, wow, that happened to this. Because some of those folks that we were serving were born with their disabilities. Others weren't. Others had traumatic things happen to them in the developmental period, whether that was a car wreck or abuse. So I would read some horrible things, but also reading what they were like when they were 10 years old, 11 years old, 14 years old, and looking at this person now, because where I worked, it was, it started out as adolescent males, but by the time I got there, it was males from the age of, I think there was a 17-year-old all the way up to probably 55.
Okay.
And seeing this 55-year-old who was just chill. Like, he used to tear up the house. What in the world? How did he get from that to this?
Mm-hmm.
And what are we doing here that is supporting that kind of a growth?
Mm-hmm.
And trying out those behavior plans that have been written by the behavior team and seeing it really can be magical. It really can make a huge difference, way more than some of the kinds of traditional type psychology interventions that won't work with someone who isn't fully able to tell you in complex detail what's going on with them internally. That you could still form a relationship, that you could still motivate them to want to take better care of themselves, to engage in more socially interactive behaviors, even though they couldn't tell you why they didn't want to.
You were at my office yesterday, and you were speaking with my staff, and you described yourself, again, as a very shy person.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that shy people, or maybe I might term it as introverted people, study other people quite a bit, just out of just the naturalness of the behavior. You're kind of sitting back behind the scenes and observing. And then you tell me about this, about being a writer, wanting to be a writer. What stalled in the writing part and moved you to the behavior analysis part?
I graduated. I was accepted to graduate school in South Carolina, English program. And I couldn't leave my job. At the end of the day, I did not want to go away from what I was doing there. And, that was a facility that most of the jobs that were there, there were a few that were specialized to be on the behavior team. Obviously, you had to have a master's degree in some form of psychology. But there were all these other jobs. You could be a quality assurance coordinator. You could be in the vocational training program and actually teach people what to do to develop these vocational skills. There was a school that go and help out with the licensed teaching personnel to instruct the younger kids. You could work in the recreation department and get paid to go have fun with people all the time. And my heart was there. I had really fallen in love with that work. So they promoted me when I started talking like, I think I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And they got me out of the cottages doing the direct care, and I went to do vocational training, which allowed me to learn things like how to write a behavioral goal, because you're not required to have a special education certification to teach adults. So I was able to learn how you do an individualized education program. How do you write a teaching plan where I'm going to teach you, Patrick, because you have dreams one day of working as a janitor. So I'm going to work with you, teaching you how to mop, teaching you whatever else, how you gather the garbage, all of those things.
Yeah.
And then also life skills, so teaching people how to cook. Well, guess what? I'm 19. I don't know a whole lot about how to mop effectively and how to cook very many things myself.
You were growing along with it.
I grew up there. That is a phrase I use a lot. I grew up at North Mississippi Regional Center. And forming real, lasting relationships with the staff and with the clients there. I'm not kidding. It was a love affair. It really was. And over time, I went back to school, got my master's degree in educational psychology, which I guess is a good time to summarize my credentials because it's confusing. Mine are not, I'm a square peg.
Okay.
When I went through that when I decided this is going to be what I want to do, I had a choice, clinical psychology or educational psychology, if I wanted to stay in Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
Since I didn't want to leave the job, that's where I wanted to be. And I was accepted into both programs. And I had to choose. The clinical psychology program was going to require me to quit my job. And it's a cohort program. So you're there, you're kind of tied exclusively to one professor and you learn their way. And then you go out as their kind of acolyte and implement and change it and grow it. And I did have a professor over there that I really, really liked and who wanted to work with me, but he wasn't an ID guy, an intellectual disabilities guy. He was a community mental health guy.
Mm-hmm.
His wife, however, ran the psychology program at North Mississippi Regional Center. She was the boss who would hire me to be there once I went on to get the PhD and all that, master's degree and all that. So at the end of the day, it was because I didn't want to quit.
Yeah.
And that was financial in addition to not wanting to just be a student. That I went to the educational psychology program because that was designed for teachers who wanted to then get this other credential, go be a school psychologist, school counselor. There's a court case called the Ayers case in Mississippi that was saying that Mississippi universities, you may have been in school around that time in Mississippi as well, we were still segregated. Universities were still segregated. And so Ayers' case said, we're going to start distributing all these programs. So if you want to be an educational psychologist, you're going to go to Jackson State. If you want to be a clinical psychologist, you're going to go to Ole Miss. You want to be a school psychologist, you're going to go to Mississippi State. So I enrolled in a program that was educational psychology, but by the time I got out of it, it was a counselor education program. So they were preparing people to be licensed professional counselors.
Okay.
And because I still was trying to go into intellectual disability services, special education applications, there was a professor in the Ed Psych program who had that background named Rick Ittenbach, and he took me on. And that faculty was so wonderful to me in that they let me kind of tailor. A lot of my courses were in clinical psychology or in the special education department. So I came out with a credential in Ed Psych, licensable as a counselor, but really just this weird unicorn of ID specialization.
Interesting. That was at the University of Mississippi?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have anything like that at Mississippi State for you?
I would have had to live in Starkville. And I had a huge, huge desire to stay in Oxford for a number of very strange reasons. I tease you about Mississippi State, but my son went there.
Yeah.
And I have a cowbell at my house.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's infectious.
I don't know about that, but Hale State, it's a
Yeah.
college. It produces learned people, and it was good to him. So
It's a very pleasant way of saying that. Oh, you had said something that people think you're nicer and smarter than you really are. What do you mean by that?
I think I said at your office yesterday, my mom taught me to read when I was 3. And this is this is a psychology lesson for you. The labels that people put on you when you are very young, if you nurtured them, they'll get you a long way. Or the opposite can happen if the negative label is there. So you enter first grade knowing how to read, you are labeled the smart kid.
Smart kid, yeah.
Yeah.
Putting the special up on a pedestal.
Absolutely. Which opened a lot of doors for me. Because I could already read, what did that have me do? They were putting me with the other kids who were struggling to read because I'd finished my work in 10 minutes. Everybody else is like, what?
Mm-hmm.
It's the difference between a T and an F. And they started me peer tutoring. So shy me.
Yeah.
That's yet another experience to start kind of getting over that. And then all the kids thought of me as the smart one now. So you don't know the answer, go talk to Shannon. She can help you figure it out. And then I have this title now that I have to defend. I am top dog. And so I continued to work to maintain that. There was a guy named Mark who was right on my heels all the time. And Mark was competitive. He wanted that. He wanted it. Once we got to high school, he was going to take it away from me.
Hill, huh?
My last name was Hill. His was Holden. We were alphabetical order. He's like sitting behind me, literally breathing down my neck all the time. So that motivated me to try a little bit harder in classes like biology that weren't that much interest for me.
Yeah.
You know, I made sure to sit with the guy who wanted to cut up the frog because I wasn't going to do that. But yeah, defending that territory all the way as long as I could. And it wasn't until I got to college. You know, Ole Miss is maybe not Harvard, but it is a bigger pool than Helena, West Helena school district was.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around like, her paper. Teacher liked her paper better than my paper. Wow, that guy just stood up and when did he read those books? You know, I was never doing any of that. I didn't have to. Everything was easy in high school. So I started thinking, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was. Then you go get a graduate degree in psychology. You have to learn to administer IQ tests. We practice on each other. I saw my true IQ. I'm like, oh, I think a lot of people would be surprised. So overachiever maybe, but innately brighter than everybody in the room.
Yeah.
Nah.
Wow. Yeah, I would think, you know, with the credentials that you have and the study path that, yeah, you definitely brighter than or smarter than the average bear.
I'm not though. And a PhD is an endurance test. By the time you get a PhD, you already have some sort of defined interest that you would be looking into anyway. You're just going to get a credential while you do it. And then they kind of torture you with, you've got to produce a dissertation. And you've got to invite a bunch of people in here who you can't just rely on your mentor who approves your work because it's a reflection of their own. You got to have these other members of your team and they're vetting what you're doing. So it's where you learn to articulate what you know to other people who know less about it and to defend what you know to people who know a lot more about it and not be able to just skate by on either way. So I think it kind of teaches you to be bilingual if it's done well. Because what use is an expertise if you can't explain it to somebody who just needs a piece of it and doesn't need the fine detail?
Yeah, I say all the time that if I could have I could have an engineer, I could have Einstein working for me, but if he doesn't have the skills in order to convey what he knows, and again, it goes along exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
He's just, holding down a chair. He's just working calculus problems.
That's right.
So,
and he might be the best engineer in the room, but he's not going to get the job because he couldn't let the people know who might hire him to do their project who aren't engineers. They just want to know, how are you going to get that bridge from here to there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why can't I have it where I want it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That the helping the kids along the way, that seems so close to what you ended up becoming.
Yeah.
Could you feel that? I mean, it seemed like you never left that nurturing all the way up to, I call it nurturing. It seems like a nurturing path from when you were in grade school, whenever you were helping these other kids.
Yeah.
Did you? Let me ask you like this: Did you ever look at some of those kids and just be like, if you would just act a certain way, things would be better?
Mm-mm. No. I knew. Go back to what you were saying earlier. The shy, quiet, introverted kid is watching, and I was, and I probably. And there were shyer kids than me by the time I got into middle school and high school. They probably know me better than I know some other folks. But that sitting back, and I knew them better than they knew me. And so the kid that might have been the class clown, I would also be looking at him when I could see him panic because the paper came out and he had no idea what it was saying or asking for. And I also worked in the counselor's office in school. My mom worked for the school district for a long time. We had an agreement. She worked at the high school. When I get to high school, you got to go. So she did, but all those teachers had been in my house. And the counselor was a good friend of my parents. He and I had bonded a long time ago. So, the kids that work in the principal's office and the counselor's office. And I was one of those. And because I was quiet, everybody thinks that you've got this complete confidentiality when you go talk to your counselor. Yeah. There's no confidentiality in a school ever. The walls might be made of concrete, but you can hear everything. So I would be in the background. They would just come in. They wouldn't even close the door. They just sit down. They see me there. But because I was invisible, they would come and they would talk. They would tell a lot of things to that counselor, and I'm taking it all in. So I knew a lot of the things that people were struggling with outside of school that they wouldn't let anybody else peer-wise know except maybe their best friend.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of information. And I do think when I say I'm not as nice as people think I am.
You use that information against people?
No. No. I think that I do tend to give people the benefit of the doubt to look for the why. Why are you such a jerk? Not just to dismiss you because you are a jerk. I want to know why. And I want to see also if I can pull out another side of you. That's always been fun for me as well.
I think of people in a similar way. I never dismiss people at the initial meeting.
Yeah.
And even whenever I meet people, I give them a chance to lower your guard or let me pull your mask off and let me see who you really are here for a little bit. Because people do that. They put on a persona and they wear it. And for some people, it's a defense mechanism. For some people, it's a way to get through the day.
Yeah.
But trying to see who they are underneath sounds similar to what you're describing.
Very, very similar, yeah. When do you dismiss someone?
When do I dismiss someone? That's a good question. If they hurt me, I suppose. If they... And even if they hurt me, I avoid them. I don't know that I still dismiss them as a person or as a...
You don't call a meeting and say, You're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I still, I can't, it's not in me to hate anybody. So there's no real ever writing somebody off,
Yeah.
as it were, or voting somebody off the island, like you're
Yeah.
off the island.
You're gone
Yeah,
forever.
you know, if I come back around and that same person is in need, I'll extend a hand. But it does take a while for. I'll give you an example. Me and my father went to a St. Louis Cardinals baseball game last week. And we come out of our room, and the elevator is just outside. And I come out, and I'm whistling, you know, and I'm just being me. And I turn this corner, and there's this 6'9" man, like a mountain of a man. And here I am, just whistling, you know, and everything. And I don't even really check up because I know that he's just a person.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a really large person.
It takes up a lot of room in there.
It takes up a lot of room. So we get into the elevator, and I immediately strike up a conversation. Whereas I notice a lot of people in that situation would be, there's this intimidation factor. And I can imagine that man misses a lot of opportunities in life because people will immediately be nervous or scared or intimidated by size. By the time we got down to the bottom floor, you know, it was just like anybody else, just normal conversation. And I brought up to Dad afterwards as we were walking. It's like, that was a big man, wasn't it? And he was like, yeah. And I said, but he was just still there. He was just a person. Yeah. He wanted to talk to people. He told us about where he was from, about going to the games. Cardinals lost. It was his first game. I mean, I practically knew him in just, 7 short floors down the elevator.
Did you ever read, not watch the movie, read Frankenstein?
I'm going to have to say, maybe it was one of those where I read some of it, but no, I never read the entire book. Mm-mm.
Do you know who the monster is in Frankenstein?
No.
The doctor who created him. And that was such an eye-opening book for me because everybody was scared of the monster. Mm. When really the monster's just wanting connection. So he's showing up in places and he looks this way and people,
Yeah.
But the guy who built him did it for nefarious reasons. And it's one of those things that just stuck with me. There is more to a person than meets the eye. And sometimes the people who look like the grand architects are stepping on the backs of others who actually did the work. They might be a really good mouthpiece. They might be a really good administrator. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm pivoting us a little bit into corporate world now, but so often the CEO of an organization gets all the credit for everything.
Yeah.
A really good CEO, in my opinion, acknowledges, and many of them do, but I don't know that the public listens when he is acknowledging, hey, I administer, I enable. I find people who are really good builders, who are really good at what they do, and I clear a path for them to be able to do it. And when somebody has to make a decision, we're going to go left or we're going to go right, that is on me. I'm the one. But I'm not the one who made this great. Mm-hmm. And I wish that, and it's in all kinds of organizations. I worked nonprofits, I worked state, I worked, had my own LLC, worked for small companies, worked for family businesses.
Yeah.
And it's just this pattern I see over and over and over again, that the heart and soul of an organization or a business, it always comes back to who is the person doing the quote-unquote lowest level job. Is that person happy? Because if the janitor isn't happy at this organization, guarantee you there's trouble all the way up
Absolutely.
in the ranks. And so psychology's everywhere. It is not just about if you have a diagnosis of autism or depression and you're looking for help in your own personal world that's going on. We are constantly interacting with one another. We are constantly affecting how everything around us goes. And if more people were really being conscientious of that and trying to know people rather than reading their labels and saying, okay, I know a lot about you already because this is what you look like. This is what I know you do for a living. This is what church you go to. I saw you at this political rally. I know you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't.
Mm-mm.
You really don't.
I label it as most people look out at others as caricatures of who they are. So in a real basic example, a policeman, and they never, to me, in their mind, they never really even look in at their face or their eyes or to really acknowledge them. They just see maybe like this third grade image of what a police officer is.
That's right. Yeah. Huh. I would what police officers in particular, because I got this ticket one time. And there was another time I didn't get it. And both times it was the same guy.
Yeah.
And the time he gave me the ticket, he's a jerk. The time he didn't, he was a nice guy. And when I link back on those 2 episodes, I was what was different. The day I got pulled over, I was driving in excessive speed because of something negative going on inside myself. And of course, when he pulled me over, naturally.
Yeah, that came out.
That is what, this is a terrible day. He's a terrible person. Everybody's out to get me. And the day that he didn't give me the ticket, I was just in a happy mood. There was good music going on at the radio. I was excessively speeding, and I interacted with him differently. So,
talking about emotions and about how we feel, I'm going to talk about some of the things that happened with you to kind of see where these emotions came, and start off with maybe fear with you, because you tell a story about being dragged by a boat in your 20s, and you thought that you in that moment you felt like you were going to die or you were going to drown, and something changed in you in that moment. What was that, and how did that shape you?
First, before I do that, which camera do I talk in to be directly talking to my best friend before I tell this story?
Go right there.
That one. Jenny, I am so sorry that I'm doing this again. So, as I said, I grew up water skiing.
Yeah.
And inner tubing and all of that.
Water skiing, and I'm envisioning Granddad out there with his Levi's, no shirt, maybe a Budweiser in one hand.
Worse than Levi's, it was seersucker pants. He would never have worn jeans.
Okay.
Anyway, so, and then, I go on this ski trip in grad school, or undergrad, I don't know what, with my friend Jenny. And her brother is driving the boat. This is when it occurs to me, way after the experience. That's the first time. And my dad may have even made this connection for me. Don't you ever get behind a boat that's not driven by someone who loves you. Mm-hmm. It's her younger brother. I'm 25, so what's he, like 22?
Yeah.
He is driving the boat. And they are a much more athletic, physical family than mine is. When they take you behind the boat, they are they are slinging you, and they love it. I I grew up much more gentle, and everybody in the boat was always looking. And as soon as they went down, you were notified. In fact, one time we had a wreck because my dad was watching the skier while he was driving the boat, and he ran all the way up on the bank because he's looking behind him. So it's a wild ride. And I'm in an inner tube, and I go flying over this wave, and I come down like this, and the inner tube is behind me, and the rope is between my legs, and it wraps all the way around. So I'm trapped. The rope is dragging me. The inner tube is banging on my head, and all of that white water is just dragging my head under. I have no idea how long I was really back there, but I could see into the boat enough to see they weren't looking at me. So I would, you'd hit a wave, I'd be up in the air.
Help.
And to me, it felt like 4 hours. I'm sure it was more like 5 minutes. And during that time, my nose kept going under the water. I was fighting, I was thrashing around, trying so hard to pull myself up. Never been very athletic, didn't have great core strength. This wasn't going to happen. And finally, I realized what's going to get me through this is I just need to stretch out and let out my air and float on top of this. That is my friend in that boat. She loves me. She's going to look. The driver is eventually going to turn around. Even if it's because he ran out of lake, he's going to turn around. They're going to see me. All I have to do right now is breathe. That's my only job. And so that allowed me just to keep my nose above the water and breathe. And that part of the fictional 4-hour experience ended up being incredibly peaceful. Once I made that realization, all you got to do is stop thrashing and breathe. You're going to be okay. This is a temporary situation. And it did. And they saw me, and they all jumped out of the boat and came running to get me. They untangled me. They got me in. They took good care of me. They all feel horrible about it. And Jenny, for years, is like, you were not going to die.
You weren't being dragged, Jenny.
That's right. But it's irrelevant if I was really going to die. All that matters is I thought I was going to die. And I legit thought I was going to die.
It sounds like waterboarding to me is what it sounds like.
Waterboarding, yeah. It was sheer panic. But it is, as a behaviorist, I talk a lot about these. Every minute you're changing your behavior. You're living, you're breathing, you're interacting, you're growing, you're evolving. There's not a lot of aha moments that really just make a person turn their life around. But they do happen. They're just rare. And if you are waiting on an aha moment to fix something, you might not ever get that. But when they do happen, they do tend to make a permanent fix of some sort for you. And that really changed my relationship with fear and all negative emotion. Like, this hurts. I don't like it. The thrashing in life might not have been about trying to hold my head above water, but it might have been about whatever it is that I fear losing right now. I am going to wrap around it and pull and hold on to that as much as possible. The social part of it took a lot longer. I had to thrash and try to hold on to what I have. I was a beat the relationship to death before you let it go person before I realized, oh, you know what? I can breathe through this one too. It's all going to be okay. Yeah. So.
Word. That stop. I made a note there. Stop thrashing and breathe.
Yeah.
That's a powerful image.
But when I asked you, when do you know it's time to write somebody off, let them go? That's a big piece of this, is that you don't have to hate the person, but there are people who aren't good to be in your life.
True.
And sometimes you just have to breathe through that. And for a person like me who doesn't like to hurt others, if someone doesn't want to exit my life and I know that I need for them to, sometimes it is a breathe through moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that statement about hating, I do think of myself as I think I'm in this recovering people pleaser state of my life.
Yeah.
Where so much of my life, it's similar to what you were describing about getting that adoration for whatever it was I was doing, for being a Boy Scout, for being helping little old ladies cross the road,
Yeah.
type of a person. and that people pleasing, it left me to where, who am I? Am I, what about me?
Yeah.
And so that is a change that I've tried to come along, because I never would write people off, to your point about letting people go. It was ride or die forever.
Yeah.
But some people would drag me under.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you can let them back in later. They do their evolution, you do yours. But I talk about the feeling of the octopus around your face. Like some people are they're sapping so much energy. And I think there's also a little bit of me that when I worked for the state facility, we considered ourselves the end of the line. So there were a couple of situations that were just so psychiatrically involved, in addition to the intellectual disability, that we would transfer to the Mississippi State Hospital occasionally. But that was rare. So regardless of the behavior, we were the end of the line. You can't aggress yourself out of this place. And so I'm learning, at age 19 and 20, how to handle a person who is completely out of control, and misapplying that to my personal life.
Yeah.
Just because I do it professionally does not mean it is good for me to do it in my personal life as well. And I have been very guilty of letting people who are struggling stay intertwined with me for way too long, because I worry that if I'm not there and I am the end of the line person, where do they end up? And that's very narcissistic of me. You don't need me. Nobody needs me. That is freeing to actually, that was another, something somebody said in grad school to me, one of the professors. And I couldn't hear it at that point in time. What do you mean? I have the keys to the kingdom. Of course they need me.
Yeah.
I would be abandoning if I was not there.
Yeah.
And professionally, you can't just say, this is hard. We're not going to, I got to find a place for you if I'm not going to treat you. But in my personal life, I don't have to support you through your evolution if it is toxic to me. Yeah.
That sounds like something that was not, it doesn't sound like it was natural for you to have to do that, because the natural side, I'm thinking back to the grade school version of Shannon that was the helper and was willing to help. So that was a difficult realization.
We talked yesterday about confusing your thoughts and opinions and emotions as fact. And that was one for me. Like, I have this idea that you don't turn your back on people. I gave you guys a little bit of context about how I got to that. So I went from the seeing people who would not let anyone in their life if they crossed them in any kind of way, to the opposite, where I would never. You can't get rid of me. I am one stable force. You will always have me regardless. So extremes are always bad.
Yeah. Most people spend their lives trying to eliminate fear. Did you stop trying to eliminate it, or just move with it?
Move with it. There you go, word. Do it anyway. I actually even have on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, the pinned thing is about that very thing.
Yeah.
If it scares you and excites you at the same time, you got to do it. There's a counterpoint to that therapy-wise. If it scares you but it is impairing you, then you've got to do it anyway. And that's the thing, I will walk with you if you are baby stepping your way to where you need to be. But a lot of people choose the fear over life. And I think that's sad. I think you miss so much.
As a Christian, choosing to walk in that fear is that acknowledgement that there's somebody that's walking alongside. That's the way, that God is walking with me. God is present with me.
Yeah.
Is that something that's translatable to the how do you reconcile things like that in the psychology of how you move through with fear?
Yeah. It's such a fascinating topic, the intersection of psychology and spirituality. And my personal stance is unique to me. And I think that someone who is of a specific faith, be that a Christian faith, and even within that, like the way the Baptists view something like that versus how the Catholics view it, it's very different. And so in psychology, you have to learn how to walk with them through that, whichever way they do it. But psychology does agree, writ large, not every single field, that having a spiritual component to your life makes a huge difference for your mental health. Me personally, my spiritual development was another square peg thing. My mom, her family, well, actually both sides of my family, have grandparents and great-grandparents who physically built the church, the Baptist church, the little community. One of my dad's ancestors, I think it's a great-grandfather, he wanted to marry a woman, but her older sister wasn't married, and so there were rules about all that. But the older sister had said, I'm never going to marry. I am so dedicated to the church. He dealt with this by building her. He built the sister he was going to marry a house, and he said the other sister a church right across the street, brought both of them to live, facilitated the church relationship. My mom used to be able to play piano by ear. So from the time she was 12 years old, she was the pianist for the Baptist church. She was there Sunday, Wednesday, revival. Both my parents decided in their wisdom at 20 when they gave birth that they had been somewhat indoctrinated and that there was a lot of resentment about particularly the Baptist church. So I was raised outside of it. My grandparents still went to church, and I loved my grandparents. I was with grandparents every weekend for years. So I would go to church with them, but I was never a baptized member of the church. Went to church camp with friends. They didn't prevent me from going to church.
Right.
They just didn't want me to be, they wanted me to make up my own mind, basically. And then I dated a Catholic, and my best friend, the third grade girl, her dad was a Church of God minister. So that was totally different from the Baptist church. And I would go sit through all of and that, and never felt like, always watching as a spectator, always reading and listening and I don't like that. I don't like that. So spiritually, for a long time, 30 years, I'm church visiting. I've never joined a church in my life. I've always visited churches, sometimes long-term church visitor. My son came along, and I also felt like I wanted him to choose his own path, but I wanted him to do it with, the primary source. So we sat together, we started reading the Bible front to back when he was little. So I'm one of the few people who has never been a member of a church who's read the whole Bible.
Yeah.
And there are things in it that I find incredibly useful and meaningful. And there are things in it that I honestly think are so destructive. Particularly the Old Testament. I have questions of logic in how people of all faiths, not just Muslim faith, but evangelical Christians, Catholics, how you use selections from the Bible to defend your purpose and ignore other sections that might say that say something totally different. But my path is to peace. My father converted the woods to be his church a long, long time ago. I was too scared of snakes for that to be mine. Until I got the dog. And the
dog walks with you in fear.
The dog just was very leash reactive, and I had to find places to walk her off leash. It's the woods. So I got to understand the importance of the commune of nature, the silence of walking through the woods, and you are the only person there other than your dog. The biggest change I've made in my life over the past 5 years has been learning to pray. I am 100% guilty of being that person who would go through phases of, I'm a good girl, I'm a good Christian, and I'm going to talk to God, and I'm going to thank him for everything I have. And then you'll hear, well, if you don't have your life the way you want it, then you're not praying right. Ask God for what you want. To me, that always seemed so narcissistic. What they're fail, I'm going to try it. Here's what I want, God. Will you give this to me? And of course, all the stupid bargaining. If you'll do this, I'll do this. The switch that I finally made that has worked has been, God, you know my heart. You know I'm striving for this. You know I'm wanting it. You know I'm struggling. I'm punishing myself for this. And I don't know what you want for me, but I know that this is not my decision to make. All I ask for is that you put me on the path you want me to be on. And if it's not the one I want, that you make me not want it. It has been miraculously effective.
Wow.
The scientist in me does not know if that is God working in my brain, making that happen. If there is some universal, like Big Bang string theory thing that connects us all, that is bigger than us, that shapes us, and that's what we think of as God. Or if it is me practicing a new behavior and changing myself. I do tend to think it's bigger than me. And I'm grateful that it's there. But it is a part of that that peace attainment that has made a lot of other things, letting go of things, going after things, accepting things that come my way that I didn't think I wanted. Been immensely helpful with all of that.
You said one word twice in that, and it was peace.
Yeah.
And yesterday you enlightened us a little bit about what is it that we should be attaining or striving for. And some people, gave all of these examples, and happiness was something that came out. And you rightly corrected the model there to say peace is what you should be trying to strive for.
I'm going to tweak 2 of your words.
Sure.
I didn't enlighten anybody. There may have been a couple of people who were sitting there at a precipice somewhere, and those words might help them go where they would go eventually anyway. A lot of people, I mean, there was a sleeping guy.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't see. I was behind, you know.
It was, the boss should always be in the very back.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a point of readiness to hear a message, and I'm very much aware of that. And I know I'm not touching everybody in a room ever.
Yeah.
That. And the other is correct. It's very important to me that I not hold on to any idea that I'm right. This is where I am right now. People currently, well, it's been a long time. I'm recognizing at this point in my life that what people come to me for is really not my skill as a behavior analyst. I haven't practiced. I mean, I've done some occasional gig work every once in a while to help out a friend. But I haven't practiced as a behavior analyst in a while, like 10 years. I haven't practiced as a sitting therapist for even longer than that. But all of that knowledge, accumulated knowledge, has shaped who I am as a human being and what comes across when people talk to me. So my therapy now is with employees. It has been for a long time. And people and parents, like parents of people with disabilities who just don't know the landscape. They want to know. They might listen to a talk and then they want to talk to me afterwards. Tell me more about this or that or whatever. So they're coming to me for this accumulation of experience of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets commonly called soft skills. And because I've worked so hard on letting go of anxiety, if you have anybody that's thinking about going into a psychology related field, especially if you want to do direct therapy, one of the biggest obstacles is letting your own anxiety go when you're in a room with somebody. Because they're going to pull stuff out of you. They're going to walk on parts of their lives that touch on things that you've gone through. You have little trigger buttons. And sometimes it's going to trigger your fear. Sometimes it's going to make you be inappropriately aligned with that person and unable to see ways that they're getting in their own way because you're just like them. And that's dangerous. So I've done a lot of work with that, of physically with my body, what I do when I sit down to do something like this. Because this is similar to the kind of openness, freeness that you have to do a good therapy session. Because it's all about listening and hearing what they're saying, not what your construction of what they're saying is, which is never accomplishable. You're always bringing your own experience and coloring what they're saying with what you know. But if you can physically let go of the anxiety, the personal defensiveness, and just be there and hear what they're saying, it's a lot more effective, whether it's a therapy session or you're mentoring somebody or they're just having a bad day and you need to be a good friend right now. So I have started pivoting my work more towards, this is what I've learned about how to sit in this chair and talk to you and listen to you this way, which turns out is a very hard skill that a lot of people want to know more about.
Yeah. Definitely is. You said something that was very interesting that I know that I find happening to me is somebody will start talking and they'll talk about, let's just say, Mississippi State, or they'll talk about they like certain types of food, or they like to go to certain things. And I can feel myself in that conversation aligning myself with them, as you put it. And then next thing I know, I'm like, wow, you're just like me, you know. And I have inappropriately at times aligned myself with people without really knowing them, because I maybe either want to know them or I want there to be an interaction.
Sure.
So that can be, and that is a dangerous place to be whenever you're wanting to, maybe that person is an engineer or that person is somebody that you're hoping need them to have the right answer.
Yeah.
And so you give them the benefit of the doubt or you give them too much credit because of that alignment.
Sure.
I can see the danger in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's pivot that a little bit to corporate world, organizational workplace. It's not necessarily true that we are top heavy in corporate America with people who look like you rather than people who look like me or even Leon. I don't know that that's always a purposeful thing, but that when the people who have the power to elevate others are naturally going to vibe with people who are reflecting back what they know. Like, you feel like you belong here. I mean, we used to laugh all the time, and we jabbed at our C-suite people for wearing the bro vest. Like, you know, these company-wide things and customers and everybody, and all the rest of us are wearing a T-shirt. Oftentimes, this is the wrong size. And there they are. They're wearing the bro vest. And it's just this signal. You're of this, you're in charge of this place, but are you of it? And trying to have a conversation when you are really different in approach, different in how you see it, what you've experienced. You know, you've come up through the ranks, whereas the CEO is the CEO who may have been a CEO for 15 years. He's CEO here, CEO here, CEO here. He may not realize, because he's getting his information from the next level of people who will wear the bro vest eventually, filtering up that information.
Making another note there.
Do you have one?
I'm going to go and check my closet for my bro vest. That's a good one.
So I don't know. I don't always think. I know it's important, if you're going to make social change, you've got to not care what the motivation is, that it's stacked in a certain way, and you just got to keep squawking about it. There needs to be more women in leadership. There needs to be more people of color in leadership. We need more diversity in middle management. Why is it that almost every field you look at is white male run and white female managed, maybe some black male management, and a lot of the time, and it is people of color who are actually doing the day-to-day work at much lower pay for doing the most important job in the whole place, regardless of the field. So that's a danger of the over-identification that we feel. I mean, it's adaptive. There's a reason that we do that as human beings. We need these shortcuts to be able to quickly assess, am I in danger or not? But we're not really in very much danger from demographic groups anymore. You have to know people on an individual level to know if they're threatening to you.
Yeah. So listening to that in organizational structure, it's better to have somebody that has a little bit of conflict with you.
Yes.
Especially if they've gone through the credentials, and you know they're in my world again, they've graduated from Mississippi State and an engineering degree, and maybe they don't like to hunt or fish or play golf or whatever it is. It's better to have that diversification, that even not even just diversification, but altering viewpoints.
Sure. I mean, we've known groupthink is a problem since the 50s or 60s. Been a while since I've read that literature, but groupthink came out a long time ago, and we continue to do it. It's more comfortable to surround yourself with people who think just like you. And if you're launching a business, you might need it in the beginning. You need a singular mission, everybody head down. There's phases of business development. And so when you have too much conflict early on, you might never get anywhere. But once you get to be big, if you're not hearing alternate voices, then it's gonna come out. There's gonna be some big public flop of some sort, more than likely, because you're not willing to hear or see or even entertain that idea. Yeah.
I can see that. You having said that, it's something that I've noticed before, even if I've hired too many people from Mississippi State. Like, Mississippi State's a great university.
Yeah.
University of Memphis is a great university. Vanderbilt is a great, even the one over in Knoxville, they do pretty good every once in a while too.
Yeah.
But it does, because they learn differently, they teach differently, their curriculum is different. And so maybe like at Mississippi State, we focus more on foundational work of buildings, and maybe at University of Tennessee, they focus more on transportation networks.
Yeah.
So you get that diversification.
Sure. Yeah, I think about college a lot now. It's way different than it was when you and I were applying back in the day. But I'm coming from a family, I was the first person to go to college in my family. I had no guidance. That's not a slap at anybody, but it was this naivete that you need a college degree. That is not what undergraduate is for anymore, in my perspective. I don't even think it was then. I got my college degree before I knew that I had done it wrong. And this is where the shy kids come up short. You're there to develop a network, really, in undergrad. So it's important to go, I think, to develop the network where you want to function later. So if you want to be a lawyer in Mississippi, you go to Ole Miss.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
You want to be an engineer in Mississippi, you need to go to Mississippi State, because I don't think Ole Miss has even got their credentialing in order, accreditation in order. Yeah. So I went to Ole Miss for unrelated, ridiculous reasons, but it turned out to be a good place to be if you want to be a writer. That English department is just full of amazing, amazing writers and literary experts. So I stumbled there. Got that accidentally okay. But I still thought I was there to earn good grades and get into the next level of things. Get into grad school, that's different. That's a pure networking thing. I don't know what it's like in engineering, but in psychology, it's almost like fraternity rush. That they'll bring in everybody who has made the paper cut and spend a whole weekend with them, and you do all of these rounds with the other graduate students, and you meet one-on-one with the faculty, and it just seems rushed. That's all I can think of, like how stressful that was for a person like me, who's not an extrovert, who doesn't love talking about myself. I'd much rather pull it out of you.
No, this is a good place to be here.
Yeah, it's working. So anyway, I do think about that a whole lot, and I tried to talk to my son about that, who makes me look like a huge extrovert. He's so introverted. You're there. This is the only place you're going to get handed along. So find people, faculty members that you vibe with, who are interested in you. Get that relationship going, but also try to find some peers, because you don't know who's going to be able to hire you. You don't think past, I'm going to get hired in 2 years. Really, I'm still calling people. I'm still calling people that I knew back then. Hey, it may not be me that's looking for a job, but I know this person, or this person needs something. That network is humongous.
Yeah.
And if you don't take advantage of it, you've really missed out in undergrad. So kids, do college right.
Exactly. Let's talk about the science of human behavior.
Okay.
That's
That's my thing.
that's your world.
Yeah.
And you practice in behavior analysis.
Correct.
And for a lot of us not really understanding what all that means, some of the words that are out there like autism and those things. And you had said that it's what you do in behavior analysis, intellectual disabilities, the science of teaching and learning that applies to everyone. So what is it that we the non-professionals, what is it that we're missing about human behavior?
I think number one, my number one soapbox is a label, a diagnostic label is shorthand for professionals to talk to one another and not have to be burdened with all of the detail. It gets pushed out into society, and in ways that's good. The fact that, I remember seeing the word autism for the first time in a Danielle Steele book in the 1980s. Like, her kid was autistic. And in the novel, I don't remember anything else about the novel, but I do remember that.
Yeah.
And that people were like, he's deaf? No, he doesn't talk because he's autistic. And so now not only everybody knows what autism, or thinks they know what autism is, everybody knows somebody who's on the spectrum. That's helpful. But it also, every time something is really well developed, like an approach to treatment, and then we disseminate it, and we try to take what we've learned from research and we get it into social services and try to improve people's lives, it's going to get watered down. And people are going to start self-diagnosing, and there's doctors are going to nod their head yes when you say, I think my kid's autistic. Okay, me too. Yeah, this, sure, here. Because then you get entitled to services that you don't get without a diagnostic label. So it's shorthand for ways to talk, but it's also ways you get paid. A therapist cannot, and depending on their credential, when I was working as a counselor and billing insurance, I had to give everybody a diagnosis. That's an ethical quandary for me. You put something like that in somebody's file, do a number of things. One is you're telling them this is a part of who you are. Even someone like me who's very careful about that and tries not to, and to really explain away this is not what this means. People have many years of hearing it in their own world. They're going to have to hear it multiple times in multiple ways to integrate what I'm saying, that this is a constellation of behaviors that occurs commonly among some people. And when we're looking for strings to say, when they do this, and this sort of treatment might help. It's all it is. It's not telling you who you are. And so oftentimes people think they are their diagnosis. You are so much more than your diagnosis. You're way more than your diagnosis. There's a lot of people walking around who probably need a diagnosis. And some of the diagnoses that are labeling some of the most problematic human behavior, no one will write down because there is no treatment that has been shown to be effective for certain diagnoses that don't require lifelong relationship with a therapist. Just this constant check-in, stabilizing, relearning what you're bringing. And insurance doesn't pay. Like, they like 12 sessions.
Yeah.
And if you're going inpatient, it used to be 2 weeks, and now it's like they need to be in and out in 5 days pretty much. So they're a way to get paid. They're a way for us to talk in shorthand. But there's so much individual variability from person to person with a particular diagnosis. And there's also so much overlap. You and I might be exhibiting exactly the same behaviors, but if the doctor who saw you sees more people with ADHD, they're going to call it ADHD. Whereas the doctor who sees more people with bipolar disorder, they're going to call it bipolar disorder. And there are diagnoses like autism, bipolar disorder, personality disorders, schizophrenia, that over time maybe started narrow and then they became this huge umbrella. And it's not necessarily because we've learned more to say that there's more to bipolar disorder than what, we used to think it's if you have a manic phase and you have a depressive phase and you have to have both. We don't require that anymore. And the history of that is that because the medications that people take are effective. So if the medication was designed for mood stabilization, then even if your particular constellation doesn't align exactly, you're still likely to get a diagnosis of bipolar disorder because insurance is going to require a match between the medication and the diagnosis. And they're not the only bad guys. I mean, and it's not even necessarily a bad guy thing to do. This comes out of a history of people with intellectual disabilities and people with severe mental illness being placed in facilities. And when we water down treatment, what started out in the models is 24-hour active treatment, trained personnel, whole life. So not just you sitting in a therapy room, but us teaching you job skills, us teaching you money management skills, whatever it was that was preventing you from functioning appropriately and adaptively on society by yourself. And over time, you can't afford the funding for that. So it gets way watered down. Then we had all of these facilities all over the country. People were just being put in, and medicated and left. And maybe instead of 24-hour active treatment, you get 2 hours of treatment, and the rest of the time you're on your own. You just can't bother anybody else during that time. So we had a lot of people that were put on a medication called Thorazine back in the 50s and 60s. Haldol, it became in the 70s and 80s and 90s, it was Risperdal. And it's always going to be given to people who don't actually benefit from it because it sedates them and it prevents them from hurting other people and hurting themselves, which is important. But you can also accumulate some knowledge that would help with those behaviors as well. It's more expensive to do treatment, though.
Why do we need you said it a little bit, but the labels, the diagnosis, and the misdiagnosis and the mislabeling, because I feel like that our culture will say, this person's, you're ADHD. And then mom will be like, yeah, he's ADHD. And dad will be like, yeah, he's always been active and everything. So yeah, he's ADHD. Or as you said, somebody that has, I call it hyper focus. That can close out the world and really dive into something. And on the outside, it looks like that person has gone into a mania or has gone into something else, but is actually creating a work of art or is solving a complex problem and has to move out of it. And it feels like that. Full disclosure, I'm struggling with this same thing myself. Bipolar, ADHD. Where am I in this? And it feels bizarre to me because I've never known anything different. It feels like the people around me are outside of the bubble that maybe I create in certain moments. So how is it and why is it that these labels have become so mainstream? My dad used to say that there was always kids that were a little more aggressive, or there was always people that were a little different. And one of my friends, whenever I was a young engineer, we would these personality assessments would come around, and I'd say, like, y'all are all introverted, I'm extroverted, and my friend said, to your normal friends, you're an introvert. Maybe amongst us, you are extroverted.
Yeah.
But how has it become so pop culture-ish that these labels are so prevalent that grade school teachers are now the ones that are putting these labels on children way before they ever make it out of the first grade?
Yeah. Philosophy according to Shannon, not necessarily all fact. Observations of an old lady. There's a lot of different reasons that all feed on each other. One is the link to funding. In schools, we passed a law in 1970 something. I used to be able to rattle that off. I can tell you it was Public Law 94142 that said all children will be educated in the United States of America. And all means all. And so that meant that a lot of the kids that we flunked out of schools maybe in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or just kicked out, like were expelled because of their behavior or their inability to keep up with the curriculum, they're there. You can't throw them out for their behavior. You can't throw them out for their learning differences. You've got to figure out how to serve these kids. And we like our categories. Yeah. And instead of teaching, this is how you are going to assess where a kid is in the curriculum right now and adjust it to meet that criteria and to pace it where they can keep up with it. And instead of learning how to change how you interact with a child who is high conflict or high energy, we are going to give all of these checklists and these assessments, and we're going to figure out what it is they have. And you are going to treat that through the schools. So we got related services. You started getting social workers in the school, and people like me, behavior analysts, speech therapists, occupational therapy, all expensive. So we have to gatekeep who gets those services. And we do that by saying you qualify or you don't qualify based on your ruling, which is the language we use in schools rather than diagnosis. But one way to get a ruling is to have a medical doctor or a psychologist give you a diagnosis of something that aligns with the ruling. So if you have a psychologist diagnose you with autism, then you can have an autism ruling. You have a diagnosis of ADHD from your primary care professional, then you might, if you show some problems with the curriculum, be able to get a ruling called OHI, other health impairment, that OHI impacts how you learn. And so it got in the school lexicon that way. And once you start that means all these parents are being exposed to it. Yeah. And they're talking to each other. Well, my child did these things, and this is what he's diagnosed with, and here's what they did at school to help him, and here's the medication that's been a wonder for him. Well, I want that for my kid too. And, so it sort of mushrooms out, and it begins to water down again because we always want it to be fast. And we are putting some teachers in kind of really no-win situations where you're going to have all of these kids in your classroom. And, for example, if I have a kid who has autism, they might have 2 30-minute sessions a week with a speech therapist. They might have a behavior therapist who comes in and works with them for an hour a week. even if they have occupational therapy, that's going to be 30 minutes twice a week.
Yeah.
Where are they the rest of the time? They are with the regular education teacher. Some schools do a really good job of hiring special educators who work within and cooperatively with general education teachers to adapt and to help them with behavioral supports and things like that. But it's never enough. I've never been in a public school where I felt like everybody's always working at maximum capacity, and some are working what is required to actually make that classroom work is nowhere near what the kind of supports that they're getting. So I think I bird walked away from your question, but why do we have it? We have it so we can get services. We have it so we can get paid. But there's also, our generation grew up with magazine quizzes. We love them.
Yeah.
You had that disc thing on your wall.
Yeah.
It's nothing bad about that. There's nothing bad about the Myers-Briggs. But it's shorthand and it's not fact. It's
Right.
a way of describing how you filled out your answers of your perception of yourself when you answered all of those questions.
To me, it goes back to what I said before about it becomes a caricature of, it becomes a box, it becomes a way, and then in our reactivity, the way that we interact with one another, like, okay, this person in the disc, for instance, this person's a D. They're very direct. They're very alpha in their approach. So that's how I'm going to gauge them.
Yeah.
And miss so much.
So very much. Yeah. And it also gives people an excuse sometimes.
It does give people an excuse.
You can go do that speech. I'm an introvert. Give that to that extrovert over there.
And there's no growth.
No growth. Yeah.
In which, whenever we started talking about that, you were saying we're always growing, or we're always moving, so we're always growing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you can move in a way that isn't growth, though. You can move backwards. You can decide to crawl back into yourself, to hide. There's periods of time you really should, injury. One of my best friends right now has needs hip surgery and back surgery, and they're strategizing how they're going to do all of this, in what order. And her life continues, she's got work problems, she's got family problems, and my role in her life right now is just to remind her not to make any permanent decisions until she's out of pain, because you don't need to be trying to decide what's next in your life when you've got something like that really affects how you're processing information, how you're thinking right now. Because when you're in terrible pain, it's not the same priority as what you would have whenever that's taken care of.
Pain, pressure, stress, all of those.
Grief. Yeah. I do the breathe through it. Depression too. I mean, I'm not immune to what gets categorized as psychological problems. There have been a few times in my life when I would have qualified for a diagnosis of depression. I'm a pretty fast recoverer. That's unique to me. It's a blessing. Thank you. Yeah. I'm glad I got that. But for me, whenever I'm overwhelmed with grief or sadness, the best thing that I can do is turn off my phone, stay in bed as much as I want, let myself cry, and I will be okay. I will be through it much faster than if I went to therapy. I'm a terrible therapy patient. I went marriage therapy. I'm too busy assessing what the therapist is doing.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm sure at some point I might get to where I could benefit if I found the right one who could handle somebody like me and be a veteran. Other people, if they start shutting off their phone, not answering, staying in their bed, people in their lives are starting to panic because we don't know. Are they starting to think about suicide? Are they going to do something rash? Are they going to forget to pay their house payment and lose their house? Is this going to go on for a week? Is this going to turn into agoraphobia, fear of leaving your home ever? So, again, two people, same symptoms. One should indulge it. Another should find some other route around what their natural inclination is. And you just can't say the treatment for depression is cognitive behavior therapy.
Yeah.
It was not for me. And we have this inside joke in behavior analysis. You have to understand, we are the experts. We are better than every other approach to teaching and psychology out there.
Yeah.
We know all the answers. But anytime a behavior therapist is having a personal issue, they go to counseling. They don't seek out a behavior analyst.
Yeah.
So I think there's something about working with somebody who knows more than you about whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about modern life and about our emotional health. And do you think that modern people are emotionally overwhelmed or emotionally undertrained?
Ooh, that sounds like a dissertation defense question. Wow. Okay, let's begin with defining our terms. Modern people.
Mm-hmm. In this modern society where doom scrolling has become part of the lexicon.
In some ways, we are overly concerned with our inner world, I think. Back into Shannon's philosophy of life here. Not pulling from the literature on any of this. People have themselves under a microscope a lot now, and there's some rhetoric out there. I have some friends who are in marketing. I need marketing. My cousin is going to do my marketing for my new company. Sorry, marketers, but I also tend to tell them this. They've ruined the world. Everything is about crafting a brand and projecting an image. And so I feel like we have created a false world full of this is what I portray, and this is what I have to do. And then the other side of that is sound bites. That's why I like it's honest. I mean, there are many reasons, and we can talk about this maybe off camera. Like, I'm curious why you invited me when there's a lot more mental health people close to you. But why I was willing to do this is that it's long format and you're letting people say everything. You're not cutting them off at the cool soundbite bit that is maybe only partially understood at that point. But nobody has a tolerance to listen to anything because we are so used to everything being summarized in a soundbite. It doesn't fit in a 1-minute TikTok. If it doesn't fit in the square on Canva to make a meme, we're just not that interested. It doesn't hold our interest anymore. And some of the things that are out there have so much to do with you have the right to. You have the right to be free, seems like, to walk through this world unscathed many times. We protect, oh God, when I left today on the news, it was a huge story that people, young girls, are now engaging in the terribly dangerous practice of sunbathing. We've got all this research on skin cancer, and they flash back to the 80s when people like me had baby oil with hot sun in our hair and we're laying on aluminum foil.
Exactly.
We thought we knew better because that's not good for you. There's a difference between something's not good for you and you shouldn't do it versus you are in danger. Everything is dangerous. You should not ever be insulted in life. No one has the right to say anything that you don't want to hear. You go to school, you pay your tuition, you deserve to graduate. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, and there's a shift away from personal responsibility. As we've already talked about, there is a shift away from really getting into a conversation that lasts more than 10 minutes, to really understanding another person, to sit in the room with somebody who votes differently from you, who looks differently from you. And I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate that we've become so shortcut-y. And so what comes with that emotionally? Underdeveloped, yes, because we don't necessarily push ourselves, don't have to. I'm a remote worker. I love it. I am happy I never have to go to an office
again. You don't have to interact
again.
with all those other people.
But I am worried that if we raise a whole culture of people who never experience what it's like to have to show up at an office and look a certain way and talk to people, I don't know if your sons have this, but mine does, and all of his girlfriends and friends are terrified to place a phone call. They don't know how to do that. What?
True. They've learned to communicate with their thumbs.
It's invasive to call someone, especially without a prior arrangement. And so you don't ever learn to just reply on the fly with who is here right now. You at least have time to think about, what are they calling me for? What do I want to say back? And we're very sculpted, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. And because they're so young, we're seeing all of these people who have YouTube channels and are highly successful, making all of this money and have these giant followings that is unbelievable at such a young age. But it's a crafted image. It's not really who they are. So I worry about that part.
Yeah. Guest that we had on, he owns Oaklawn Restaurant here in town, and he described it as our society is cocooning.
Yeah.
To where we are retracting into our own worlds and creating our own small micro environments.
We sure are, and we like an echo chamber too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What worries you most about the way that we teach people to cope?
That we don't. Landis was little. Landis is my son. He's now a fully functioning human being, adult.
Hale State.
He, I think he was probably 5, and I'd hung a tire swing. I didn't do it. Someone hung a tire swing from a chain, and it was a little too close to the tree trunk, I guess. And he would swing, he'd hit the tree trunk, and he just didn't want to do it. I was so stressed out by this. Like, no, it's fun. You've got to let yourself worry less about that you might get hurt. There is some benefit in life to getting hurt. And my neighbors across the street, they were standing outside walking. They tell me later, like, look, she's trying to toughen him up. It's exactly what I was doing. Yeah. Some of my most prized memories are flipping over the handlebars and smashing my face in the pavement. Yeah. I've been hurt a few times, physically, psychologically, and I am better for it. Now, do I want him to just do incredibly stupid things just for the sake of
followers?
I don't want all that.
Yeah.
No, but it's just parenting is frequently so over involved right now, in my opinion. This is the Gen X take on it. I'm not different from what a lot of us are saying, that why are you fighting your child's battle? As a professor, I've personally never received an email or a letter from a parent or a phone call But I know a lot of people who have. How dare you not give my son, or how dare you say my son or daughter didn't write that paper, that it's plagiarized. You need to prove it. No, I mean, I've already done that with your adult child. I'm not going to do that with you.
Yeah.
A friend of mine runs one of the testing centers on a college campus, because now they have to come into a test center, take their test on camera via a lockdown browser, with humans also there to surveil for college tests now, because we don't trust that they will actually do their own work. And even when she sometimes has people on camera cheating, take their phone out, take a picture of what's on the screen, put it in a chat GPT right there on camera, and they will sit there and say, I did not cheat. I paid my tuition. I want my money back.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. This is not creating a better society of human beings, and that bothers me. I do think I grew up on a playground where the teachers were standing on top of the hill and all the kids were running everywhere. The slide was made of metal. It burned our legs. We didn't slide down the slide when it was 102 degrees on July 5th,
Yeah. I remember those slides.
Yeah, but you learned and you were capable. And I'm thinking there's so much adult shepherding right now that I don't know that they learn the lessons that they need to learn in time. And so they live with mom and dad until they are 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely happening. So what does emotional maturity actually look like from a behavioral analysis standpoint?
That's going to depend on where they started and how far they can go. But my dream for people is that you are responsible for your behavior. Doesn't mean you don't make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You will.
You should.
You
gotta grow.
need to, 100%. But it's not your responsibility to make sure that I don't feel pain. It's my responsibility to know where my vulnerabilities are. I can tailor how I respond to you based on where my vulnerabilities are. I can tailor whether or not I have you in my life based on where my vulnerabilities are. But at the end of the day, if I let you hurt me, I never get more emotionally mature as long as I am allowed to say you're a bad person because you hurt me. I have to grow and say, I have some responsibility in that. Even in some extreme situations where I'm talking like domestic violence, for example, never ever would I want to blame a victim for what happens, but there's something in the literature about a woman who's in a domestic violence situation will take 7 times to practice leaving before she actually stays gone. There's a lot of behavior traps in keeping them in that. It's not, people like to shorthand it to say, well, she just loves to be mistreated. No, no one loves to be mistreated. There's a lot of dynamics that have led to where they don't know the difference between love and control. But she, at the end of the day, has to learn that, because even if she gets out of that relationship, she's more likely to find somebody else who's going to do it again. If she doesn't learn about herself in that process and how I'm going to be responsible for making sure that whatever it is in me that makes me susceptible to looking to somebody who's going to control me, that's me. I've got to figure that out, and I've got to find a way to get my needs met in a more safe kind of way. I don't know if I'm answering you. I don't know that I have all those answers, but my leaning is towards maturity means what's happened to me so far is a mixture of random occurrences in life, the environment that I have created and constructed that has pulled certain people into it, and what I've learned from my own internal exploration. So
You going back to peace again, and something that you said to my staff yesterday in the concept of knowing your own self.
yeah,
And sometimes, to me, that's where that struck a nerve with me about emotional maturity. That when you recognize within your own self that something's not right in me, so I need to back away from whatever the situation is, or I need to know that I am grieving,
yeah,
or I am carrying a burden, or I am, I just got, notified that something bad has happened in my life.
yeah,
That's not go and let me say like this. That's the opposite of that person that is continuing the abusive relationship or staying in that relationship. It seems like to me.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variables because I have known someone who was in a relationship that's very abusive. There's children involved, and I mean, unfortunately, I've done a deep dive into this topic. The legal system does not help. It really doesn't. And so sometimes people are trapped in these situations because there's someone else that they're trying to protect. But there's a mental shift that happens. Like I saw that person be able to step aside from the gaslighting, the buying into the emotional component of that abuse, learn how to stand there as a shield to absorb it so that it misses the child without walking away feeling like I am less than, I am bad. I, and it's just a whole different experience between somebody who truly is staying because for a greater good rather than staying because I don't think I deserve better or because this looks normal because this is the way I grew up or, whatever. I'm scared that bad things will happen if I do leave. So much crap
Yeah.
that we're carrying around. I think the other thing I would say about emotional maturity is being okay with your flaw. Like, I'm never going to become the person that I wish I was. I have mean thoughts every day. I say mean things to myself every day.
Yeah.
I judge. I've got all these sinful things that I'm carrying around and I'm not going to stop. And there are things about me that make other people crazy. And I have to decide, do I care enough to change that? Or am I just going to lead with it? Hey, I'm really bad at this. So that's it. I'm not going to change it. Here I am.
Wow, that's a great segue into this next section. Can people truly reinvent themselves?
Double-edged sword question. People reinvent themselves all the time, nefariously.
But to the point of that recognition, like what you were describing, that there is something within me, or there is something that I don't like, or there's something that brings me pain.
Yeah.
Do people really reinvent themselves?
You can. You just got to want to. It's effort. It is there is so much effort to make a behavioral change that is identifying what's reinforcing why you're doing it now. Like what is the payoff for whatever this is that you don't want to feel anymore, you don't want to think anymore, you don't want to do anymore. And that, especially if you've been doing it a long time, it's a huge mountain to unlearn. and to relearn. And you have to pick a way of doing it that's actually going to work. And so many times we bow to pop psychology. We find the book that tells us, here's how to fix your ADHD. If it doesn't resonate with you, and if it's making you do something that is so different from how you do every day, and that doesn't feel good to you, it feels awkward, uncomfortable, you're probably not going to stick with that. But you find the right pace of change, you find the right thing that does get the need met in the same way, that's more proactive. Of course you can. Yeah.
The way you just described that is very interesting to me.
Which part?
Well, you described it. I'm thinking of like a diet. You know, again, the pop culture kind of reference there, the fad diets or whatever.
Yeah.
If you want to lose weight, cut out all of this out of your lifestyle, and then you'll lose weight. But if that is such an extreme thing, like, hey, cut out all meat, like what? How am I going to cut out all meat? I don't even understand that. No more barbecues. I mean, we're talking a whole social change.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's those things that come with so many reinforcers that you're not considering. It's not just that barbecue tastes good. You go with your family.
Yeah.
It's you might like to cook. You might be a star in the kitchen, and that's one of the things you do really well. Southern identity is very wrapped up in barbecue. How are you going to say I'm a vegetarian?
Yeah. It's
really hard. So I used to when I taught that, I used to talk about smoking, because this is, going back in the 90s, everybody was still smoking cigarettes. And we had the organization I was working in had just gone to the idea of you can't smoke in your office building anymore. You have to go to the smoker pit.
Yeah.
So what are all the reinforcers associated with going to the smoker pit? And I would get them to just name them all. Well, I get to smoke. Okay. What else? Other smokers are there. What are you not doing? Working? Who never comes to the smoker pit? The clients. Who else? The boss, And so it's not just about a cigarette at that point. It is about the social context. It's about what you're getting away from. It's about having a built-in break, which all of us non-smokers are filling in while they're over there. And the other thing was the organizational planning got done there too.
Yeah, sure did.
The boss can say whatever he wants. When it comes time to do the daily work, the workers are going to decide what that is. And so they'd rehab the meeting. And they'd say all the stuff that wasn't actually said and come up with their own plan. Even if it wasn't strategic like that, that's what they'd walk away with. Oh, yeah, the smoker's pit, we decided we're not doing that memo. So, I mean, it's always so freaking complex, and it's important to take that time. That's what we're talking about with your staff. Just take time, think about, I don't want to do this thing anymore. I do want to develop this thing. You're already not doing that sometimes, or doing this thing that you want to do. You're already doing it some. You can't want to do something that is just not a part of your world at all. You have to have a concept. So when is it that I am okay passing up the junk food? Under what conditions will I cave in, even though I'm really, really wanting to eat healthy? And then you don't have to make a commitment that I'm not going to eat cookies anymore. You just have to say, I've noticed this pattern that when I get off the phone with Mom or Dad or Patrick or whoever it is, I feel like I really need a cookie. There's something going wrong in that context. So maybe I'm going to try to do something different over here rather than just rely on my willpower after I hang up the phone with the frustration or the exhilaration, whatever it is that led me to that cookie. What am I going to do different here so that I don't feel the need to go run into the cookie? And that the cookie, I keep doing the cookie thing because everybody relates to it, but it's any behavior, anything at all. So So even if it's fighting with your wife or, I don't know, what else do we not like to do? Avoiding a meeting, not asking for the raise, stuff like
Confrontation.
that. Confrontation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most people hate that. And the few people who love it win all the time because the rest of us just don't even want to engage.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
You get somebody that enjoys the confrontation.
Mm-hmm. And they're out there. I mean, that's one of those things that's never been a part of me. And to see someone who's just raring for it, I love to watch those people. My son's like that too. He always loved watching the kids misbehave at school. Just it wasn't just interesting to him from a psychological point of view. It was pure entertainment. Go watch these kids break rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a fully lived life look like to you now from your...
Yeah, you're in my heart. Dad had a heart attack in the month of July 2025. I have been in a situation where I told you my parents were young. They were 20 when I was born. We grew up together. I have always just been able to be the kid. I've never had to caregive with my parents. I mean, financially, everything, it's always been one way. That changed everything. He had that heart attack, and rural America, helicopter ride to Conway, Arkansas, which was the closest hospital that was accepting, had room. Which, by the way, when they say, I've learned, when they say, do we have a bed, they've all got beds. They don't have staff to oversee those beds. All these hospitals have a lot of extra beds. So anyway, he goes there. They do a stent, and the cardiologist comes in the next day, and they're doing all the testing. Well, it wasn't the cardiologist, it was the techs. They come in doing all the testing, follow-up testing, and then it's, hey, come here, and there's two techs looking at the screen. In my heart, I'm like, what's going wrong? What's going wrong? And I'm sitting there trying to engage with my parents so that they don't panic. I'm hoping they're not picking up that something's wrong. And then they go get the cardiologist, and he says, yep, we got to go now. And so he takes him back in to see if he can do another stent, and he comes back out, and he said, no. There is no way to do another stent. He's got to have a triple bypass, but the medication that they put you on after a stent, you have to stay on it for a certain while in order for it to be effective. It wasn't safe to take him off of it, so he had to go home for 3 months and wait on his triple bypass. He also had AFib, and so they were going to take him in, do triple bypass. They were going to do the ablation for the atrial fibrillation part of it, do it all at one time. Had the most amazing surgeon.
Yeah.
Just, if I could make all of his doctors be like this guy. Perfectly successful surgery. Discharged, like they were all, wow, man, he's up walking the ICU unit within 24 hours. He was recovering. Goes home, goes downhill. He had congestive heart failure too. Nobody knew that. You apparently don't know that until you do the bypass, and the heart still doesn't pump correctly, pump the fluid. So he's always feeling like he's drowning every minute of the day. End up back in the hospital, and a lot of diuretics, which then led him to have kidney failure. So now we're seeing kidney people, and he was a 30-year smoker. We're seeing, do we have COPD? Don't we have COPD? Turns out we don't. Thankfully, one thing went right.
Yeah.
All of this finally results a few months ago in him being taken off of most of the diuretics and put on this medication that is only IV, can only be given in the hospital except for end-stage terminal patients. You can take it home. And so he and I have learned how to do an IV through a PICC line. And the sad thing about this medicine is, if you've ever seen the movie Awakenings from a long time ago, it was about an Alzheimer's drug or a catatonia medicine, and all of a sudden everybody in wheelchairs got up, they're interacting.
Yeah.
One day it stops. Everybody's back just sitting. This medicine does that too. It's just it makes his heart beat at the rate that it needs to keep circulation going, but one day it's going to just stop working. And he is possibly a candidate for a mechanical heart pump if his kidneys are stable. Otherwise, there is nothing else. A long story to answer your question, which is this. My father comes out finally feeling better and doing all of his prepare to leave the last hospitalization on the Milrinone medicine. And he says, I haven't finished having fun yet. This is a man who got married at 18, went straight to work, worked continuously his whole entire life until he retired. He retired younger than me because, different days. And love you, Mom, if you're still watching. But my mom's been in charge of the house, the routine, what we do, what we don't do. My dad's kind of like me. He's got wanderlust. My mom likes routine, sameness, hates being in a car, hates being in an airplane. He didn't say I haven't gotten to fully live the life that I want to yet, but I'm not done having fun yet is pretty close. So he gets out and he's immediately looking for, I got to go out in my boat. I can't walk through the deer woods anymore. Let's buy the ATV. So he buys himself the $16,000 thing so he can still go to the woods. He looked at me the other day and he said, listen, my friends are old, dead, gone, or young. Got to go to work every day. I got to have a fishing buddy, and it used to be you, and it's about to be you again. So I'm going to be back in a fishing boat with him. And I'm really impressed with him that he knew what was left of his life that he hadn't done yet. And some people in that position will just feel sorry for themselves and just say, my life is over. I missed my chance. And they die unhappy. Mm-hmm. But my dad is like, you know what? I've had a good time, but there's still some things I want to do. We're going to make that happen. So I want to be like Dad. I don't want to, at the end of my life, say, wow, I didn't jump out of the airplane because it was scary. I didn't walk in the woods because of snakes. I didn't go to Italy because I was scared that not knowing the language was going to make it difficult. I don't want to go sit in a restaurant by myself because I'll feel weird and lonely and like everybody's staring at me. So just do it. Yeah, just go and do.
Stop thrashing and breathe.
Stop thrashing and breathe. And I don't know if it works for everybody, but for me, because when I start chipping away at my own crap, I think I'm also better for other people. Like I can go take care of my parents, move back to the Delta, a place that I never thought I would go, and not be bitter about it. And I have also seen friends have to go home to take care of things, and they don't want to be there, and they are bitter about it. Mm-hmm. And, it might be getting harder, and maybe I'm going to get bitter as it gets harder, but right now, it's okay. Do I want to sell my house and move back home? Mm-mm. But I'm peaceful about it, and I'm exhilarated by spending this time with my father. He may get the heart pump. He may have 15 more years. But if he only has 1 or 2, I want every minute I can have watching him enjoy it and trying to lessen the pain how I can when he's having a bad day. So, don't you dare do what everybody's doing right now. People are looking at me saying, wow, he's so lucky to have you. You're such a good daughter for doing this. There was a time in my life that I weighed 6 pounds. I couldn't do anything for myself. They didn't put me away. I was 6 years old. I flip over. I bust my face. He sat in the recliner for hours just holding me because that was the only time that made me feel okay. A guy broke my heart. Left a lot of shit undone in my house. Can I say that word? I shouldn't say that word. You can get rid of that word, right? Left a lot of tasks that he was going to do for me undone in my house, in addition to my heart being broken. My father comes over with his ladder and his toolbox and spends a weekend with me, just fixes the house. And one night before he left, he just said, "No man is ever going to leave you and you not be taken care of. I'm always going to be here. I'm permanent. You never have to feel bad for calling on me when someone else fails you." And I hadn't said any of that. I didn't have to say that. He knew that. And that's it. This is not a talking man.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Am I a marvelous human being? He put on a tuxedo and walked down an aisle for a marriage that he knew wasn't going to work out. He's been there. Both of them have. Both my parents have always been there. And I am not special, wonderful, or great for saying, I had 50 years of freedom, and now I owe something back, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to enjoy it.
Word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You almost made me cry, but I pulled it back.
You did. You did.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It's powerful coming from you.
Why? Why? Because it's from me.
Why? Because it's from you.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from you is somebody that has been trained to help so many other people and to see the reality of life in so many other people and the consequences that so many other people didn't move forward with, and you finding peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
And demonstrating peace.
All right, I'll accept it. The ability to articulate the processes by which I can do it, I guess, is what makes me different. But I do think everybody's got a very powerful story, and we could easily flip in the next 2 hours. I'll take that, and I'm going to get every bit out of you from your experience and what you've learned. It may not be the same stuff, but that same level of depth, because you are a person who looks inside and outside and is also trying to emerge and be, right? To grow. Yeah. Reflection's important.
It is. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to open up and share. Thank you for giving us some thoughts about how to be better at what we do.
Thank you for the invitation. It's been fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right.